Greetings everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at the skill tree. I do have two skill trees to show you at the end, but I'd advise not skipping straight to them. The real value of this video is examining how the skill tree works, what it has to offer, and how to prioritize choices to get the most out of it, given your situation and preferences. Only with that context will the trees at the end make sense. Let's start with the basics. You get one skill point per level starting at level 5 through level 50 for a total of 46 points. You can then spend those points on 30 different skills, each of which has its own little mini tree with 3 options, for a total of 90 different nodes. That means that you can select about half of the total options. These are further broken up into 5 different tiers where you must spend a minimum amount of points in the lower tiers before you have access to the higher ones. Additionally, they are broken up by career with a third each for engineering, science, and tactical. We'll come back to that later when we get to the bonuses. So, what do you get for your skill points? Skill points don't really do anything for you directly, but map to attributes that are more familiar and useful. Most of these are linear functions where each skill point gives the same amount of attribute regardless of how many you already have, but not all attributes will give you the same benefit in a linear fashion. Damage resistance is non-linear, hull, shield, and impulse buffs scale with ship stats, and cooldown reduction ceases to be useful once you hit the minimum cooldown for abilities. So while you'll always get the same amount of damage resistance per skill point, each point of damage resistance will give diminishing returns. It also needs to be mentioned that additional points invested into the same mini-tree also give diminishing returns in terms of the amount of skill points you get. Usually you get 50 skill points for the first node, then 35 for the second, and finally 15 for the third. Keep this in the back of your mind for later. I won't go through every skill individually since that's very time consuming and I trust you guys to be able to read. Plus the tooltips on the skill tree in game are sufficiently explanatory. What I will do, however, is look at what skills benefit from the personal space trait, Inspirational Leader, and as an aside, you can get DOFs from the K13 station that do the same thing, so you can get that benefit without going into a lockbox trait. You can get Cat 1 boost to energy weapons, projectiles, and exotic damage via EPG, hull pin, shield pin, accuracy, defense, crit chance, crit severity, hull capacity, shield capacity, hull and shield restoration, hull and shield regeneration, hull and shield resistance, control and drain expertise, impulse speed, EPS, and cooldown reduction for engineering, science, and tactical abilities. As for the leftover skills, the ones that don't benefit from inspirational traits or DOFs, you can get subsystem power, occasional shield damage negation, and the 2 skills that deserve special consideration, coordination abilities, and the long-range targeting sensors. The coordination skills mostly benefit hangar pets, but also give all teammates, which includes other people on your team, a myriad of goodies, including hull and shield capacity, defense and accuracy, and damage resistance. It's tempting to pass on these, but if you do group content like TFOs, then it's a nice boost for them, and if everyone has it, you'll get a sizable boost from your teammates as well. I recommend being a good neighbor and picking these up. Long-range targeting sensors reduces the penalty you get for firing energy weapons at a distance. If you didn't know you were being penalized, now you do. You can't start firing until you reach 10 kilometers from your target, but you are penalized while further than 2 kilometers, which is just another reason to get close to your enemies. This skill, which is unique and can't be replaced by other means, reduces that penalty, so if you plan on using energy weapons, and virtually all builds have at least one, then it's a must-have skill. In addition, there are bonuses you can unlock when you spend enough points in each career type, including a powerful clicky ability called an Ultimate, that you can get after spending 24 points in one particular career, and 3 upgrades to that clicky for spending more points. Despite having 3 options, only one is worth getting. The Tactical Ultimate, Focused Frenzy, gives you firing cycle haste against the target you use it on. The upgrades can give you bonus damage, cooldown reduction, and allow teammates to benefit as well. This is obviously the most useful on energy weapon builds, but the bonus damage is good for everything. The Science Ultimate, Probability Manipulation, is actually worse than useless. Using it will replace your current crit chance with a crit chance of 50%. That may have been a large number when the skill tree was created, but these days even my free-to-play torpedo build, which only uses things you can get from playing the game, and sidesteps C-Store, Lockbox, Lobby, and promo items, can do better than that. In practice, finished in-game builds are reaching upwards of 70 or 80% crit chance, maybe even more, so using this ability will actually reduce your crit chance. The upgrades are irrelevant since you'll never use it to begin with. The Engineering Ultimate EPS Corruption isn't great, but it's better than probability manipulation and ironically better for science since it scales off EPG, doing plasma damage when the target fires energy weapons. The upgrades drain power and stop the target from healing, as well as causing the plasma damage to spread to other targets. It was buffed the last time they did a skill tree rebalance, but it's still not really worth using outside of the novelty. So how do we navigate all this information? I'm going to propose 2 guiding principles for how we make our selections. The first one is one you're probably familiar with, a priority view in which we maximize a small number of attributes at the expense of everything else, and then distribute whatever is left over to secondary priorities. This is not very efficient due to the diminishing returns built into the skill tree, but it gives us the absolute most of the attributes we really care about. The second idea is based on greed. Instead of choosing priority targets, we are simply out to get as much raw attribute boosts as possible. This may be a good choice for new players or players who've just hit level 65. If you're flying a tier 5 ship without an upgrade token, and you don't have your specializations filled out or your reputations completed, you don't have any fleet gear, then you're going to be running on an attribute deficit across the board. You don't have the luxury of focusing on particulars. You just need as much help as you can get at that early stage. In this paradigm, we put 1 point into everything to maximize returns and distribute what's left. We also have to consider our 2 special cases, the coordination protocols and the long-range targeting sensors. I would advocate for maxing these out regardless of what approach you take, which is going to eat up 6 of our points, leaving us with 40 left to spend. We also have to consider what our priorities even are. In both approaches, we have priority decisions, but the question is whether we go after them first or last. In my DPS Guide series, I laid out DPS priorities as follows: speed, Cat 1 and Cat 2 damage, crit chance and severity, all equally valuable, with a little bit of survival thrown in to get you by so you're not dying. The 2 builds we're about to see assume a jack-of-all-trades approach, since respecking isn't free, but you can move some points around if, for example, you plan to never use torpedoes, and obviously you're going to want to go more heavily into control expertise if you're doing a science build. As for the career bonuses, there are only 2 that I find essential. Make sure to take threat control and battery expertise. Otherwise, take whatever you want. Without further ado, the skill trees. I'm not going to go over them in detail since the explanation is everything we've been talking about so far, but I will post them in my community tab so you can take a look at them up close and at your leisure for as long as you want, or you can pause the video. At the end of the day, there's no single skill tree that is best for every build and every character at every stage of development. The skill tree offers a large array of different buffs and gives you the flexibility of getting more of a specific attribute at the expense of overall value. The 2 template builds that I posted are meant to be starting points, not finished products. You may want to move a few points around, and hopefully you'll now have the confidence to do so. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe so you can see more of my content in the future. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.